The body is heavy. If we take plastic bags and cut it into pieces, it will be finished. Did the sacrificial animal arrive? He has arrived.
Investigators try to find out what happened to Jamal Khashoggi.
Saudi Arabia confirms that the journalist Jamal Khashoggi is dead.
Jamal Khashoggi's loved ones want some form of closure.
Saudi foreign minister saying this was all a terrible mistake.
The execution of Jamal Khashoggi, a frequent critic of the Saudi regime, inside the Saudi Consulate.
Saudi Arabia, for 3 weeks, has been trying to fool the world here.
The killing of Jamal Khashoggi was a premeditated murder.
Monday, the 1st of October. Everything seemed normal in the Belgrade forest, which is located northwest of the Turkish city Istanbul. It was the start of a week, and there were a few visitors. The weather was autumnal and temperamental. Just before sunset, surveillance cameras spotted a car that belonged to the Saudi Consulate in Istanbul as it passed through one of the main gates to wander through the vast forest. Al Sabah newspaper revealed that the car was driving the Saudi military attaché in Istanbul, Ahmed Abdallah Al-Mazini, on a surveillance mission, according to information gathered by the Turkish intelligence services. Al-Mazini had returned from Jeddah on the same day, according to the newspaper, with a plan to dispose of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أقسم بالله العظيم أن أكون مخلصا لديني ثم لمليكي وبلادي وأن لا أبوح بسر من أسرار الدولة وأن أحافظ على
On the 21st of June 2017, only 2 weeks after the outbreak of the diplomatic crisis between Saudi, its allies, and Qatar, Prince Mohammed bin Salman was crowned Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. In the same month, Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi left the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He traveled from Jeddah Airport to London, and from there on to the United States.
The pressure increased, I believe, in 2014 or 2015 when he was banned from writing. Ministry of Information decided to publish the letter banning Jamal from writing. And I think he found that very, very insulting.
You should remember that Jamal was banned from tweeting and writing articles while he is in Saudi Arabia because he stood for the honesty.
After he left Saudi Arabia, we met together and we spoke, and he was very supportive of the concept of democracy and the freedom and reconciliation, and we did work together on that kind of field.
So I think Mohammed bin Salman is doing the right things by introducing Vision 2030. Now he just has to do it right.
Jamal studied at Indiana State University, ISU, School of Journalism, and graduated in the early 80s. He worked in the U.S. as a media consultant to Prince Turki Al Faisal when he was ambassador.
Bizim İstanbul'da bu süreçte, evlilik için geldiği bu süreçte oğullarından bir tanesi yine kendisini ziyaret etmişti. İlerleyen süreçte oğullarıyla daha sıkı ya da ailesiyle ve akrabalarıyla daha sıkı iletişim kurabilmek için aslında biraz da İstanbul'da yaşamak istiyordu.
After separating from his first wife, Jamal remarried, but his second marriage was short-lived. His third marriage in May 2010 was to Dr. Alan Nassif, a marriage that lasted several months after his departure from the kingdom. Amid allegations of official pressure, Jamal was coerced to sign a divorce.
He wasn't very happy. He was worried. He one time told me his two sons complained to him that they are held hostage because of him. They couldn't travel. He said they were both bankers and their work required them to travel and they could not leave the kingdom. Their passports were confiscated and they were blaming him. And that really caused lots of guilt. He told me he felt guilty that he's causing their stress and suffering.
In August 2017, Jamal tweeted for the first time from his chosen exile in the United States. I returned to writing and tweeting, grateful to His Highness the Minister of Information for his kind efforts, gratitude and loyalty to the Royal Crown Prince. No free pen is broken and no tweeter is silenced under his reign. It seemed that Jamal's statements were confused and in contradiction to the reality he was living in exile. The question was whether everything was cleared between him and the authorities in his country. The authorities banned him from writing after he received a call from Saud al-Qahtani, advisor to the royal court, ordering him to be silent, an order which Jamal described as an insult in a talk with the BBC.
شعرت بالضآلة التي يمكن أن أصل إليها لو قبلت بذلك. أن مسؤول يتصل بي بالهاتف يبلغني أمر بمنعي من الكتابة، منعي من التغريد.
In September 2017, Jamal Khashoggi started writing for the Washington Post. This experience conveyed Jamal's ideas and essays to a wider sphere of influence and a broader audience.
For the Saudis, I think this was the scariest thing. The guy writes for a paper that's read all over the world, that are read by decision makers in the US.
كل الصور التي كان يرسمها محمد بن سلمان لنفسه في الغرب، في أمريكا وفي لندن وفي باريس، مئات الملايين من الدولارات أنفقت على شركات العلاقات العامة، كان يهدمها في الواشنطن بوست بكلمة واحدة.
Jamal's friend, Khalid al-Safuri, accompanied us to the apartment Jamal lived in Tysons Corner, Virginia. We tried to communicate with Jamal Khashoggi's son Abdallah, but he refused to speak to us.
As we speak today, there are Saudi intellectuals and journalists jailed. Now nobody will dare to speak and criticize the reform they like.
Saudi intelligence services were conveying all of Jamal's movements to the young crown prince and expected king, who was anxious about Jamal's writings, activities, and posts. The kingdom tempted Khashoggi to return. A close source to Jamal told us that the counselor of the royal court, Saud al-Qahtani, contacted Khashoggi twice over the phone. He told him that the crown prince's trust in him was unshakable and that the doors of the royal court were open to him whenever he decided to return. Our source confirmed that the government did not cease its communication with Jamal, and he was given several offers to return, including an offer to manage one of the most important Saudi-funded media networks.
Jamal knows the Saudi regime very well. He has been there. He has been serving in the embassy in London, the Saudi embassy in Washington, was the editor of Al Watan newspaper. And I think his knowledge of the regime added credibility to his profession as a journalist when he spoke out.
Jamal's direct criticism of the crown prince seems to have hastened this decision.
Jamal spoke to me 2 days before his murder that he is working with friends to establish a foundation for democracy in the Arab world, promoting the culture of democracy amongst the youth people, and also creating some form of societal reconciliation.
Khashoggi's activity outside the United States included supporting the project Electronic Bees for Canadian-based Saudi activist Omar Abdelaziz, which confronted the Saudi government's electronic committees.
في ماي ويوليو 2018 كان هناك ملاحظة من قبل عدد كبير من النشطاء أن هناك عمل منظم لاستهدافهم إلكترونيا تحديداً على مواقع التواصل الاجتماعي. كان جمال خاشقجي أحد أكبر المتضررين من هذا الهجوم. قمت بعمل دراسة مصغرة لكيفية عمل هذه اللجان الإلكترونية، وأردت الوصول إلى فكرة تهدف بشكل أو آخر إلى فرملة أو إلى إيقاف هؤلاء. عرضت الفكرة على الأستاذ جمال خاشقجي، رحب بالفكرة. كان معي عدة أشخاص منهم الأستاذ طارق المطيري من الكويت. وصلنا إلى حالة أننا يجب أن نشكل فريقاً يواجه هذا الهجوم المضاد. فقرر بعد ذلك هو الدعم، قرر تمويل المشروع ب$5,000 من جيبه الخاص.
In Istanbul, a political science researcher spoke to us about another major project that Jamal launched from Istanbul through a number of media platforms. We contacted a number of Jamal's assistants who preferred not to talk in detail due to concerns about the impact an announcement could have on the future of the new project. Orders were issued and a small action cell was formed. It met in Riyadh. It discussed scenarios. In light of the information unfolding day after day, a course of action was determined, an eternal silencing. A net was cast in anticipation of the victim. On the eve of the 9th of September, Jamal Khashoggi left the United States for the last time. He boarded Turkish Airlines TK-8 from Washington Dulles International Airport and arrived at Istanbul Ataturk Airport just before sunset on September 10th. Jamal had planned to extend his visit until the 17th of October to finalize his marriage arrangements. Turkish journalist Hatice Cengiz met Jamal Khashoggi for the first time at an event in Istanbul in July 2018 and sought to conduct an interview with him. This was the beginning of several meetings that brought them together and helped deepen their connection before Jamal officially proposed to Hatice when he arrived in Istanbul in September.
في بداية سبتمبر اتصل بي قال أريد باسمي أن تذهب وتطلب بنت من أبوها. قلت تمام أنا أستطيع أذهب ماذا تريد؟ قال أريد فقط إذا ماذا هم يطلبون ماذا هو. تكلمت مع أب ثم قلت له جمال هم ينتظرونك. في منتصف سبتمبر جاء هنا كان يريد أن يبقى هنا شهرين وينهي كل أعماله.
Jamal was full of hope because he is about to get married. He wanted to establish new life, and he was telling me about the flat that he bought, the furniture that he is going to put in the flat, and the fact that he's going to the consulate to get some documents. And I joked with him and I said, you are younger 10 years than I have seen you before because you have a new love story. And he laughed. And then he said, you know, we need that so we may continue our struggle for the new generation in the Arab world. And I felt that for now, Jamal is secure in his environment, in his personal life, in his inner self.
From Istanbul, Jamal traveled to London for several days, returning at 4:07 a.m. on Friday the 28th of September. At 9:24 a.m. that morning, Jamal accompanied his fiancée Hatice to Istanbul's Fatih municipality to finalize the marriage process.
Sonra birlikte gittik belediyeye ve belediyedeki yetkiliden konuyla alakalı bilgi aldık. Nasıl evlilik işlemleri yapabiliriz ya da evlilik gerçekleşmesi için hangi evraklara ihtiyacımız var. Bu başka yerlerde boşandığını anlatan kağıt olarak geçiyor ama hayır öyle değil. Hali hazırda evli olmadığını ispat eden bir kağıt. Bu belgeye ihtiyaç var ve bu belgeyi sadece kendi konsolosluğundan alabiliyor.
Jamal and Hatice hired a taxi to go to the Saudi Consulate.
Telefonlarına girerken bana bıraktı. Beni almadılar zaten. Konsoloslukta sadece işi olan kişi girebiliyor. Dolayısıyla ben yani belki bir saat falan içeride oturdu. Yani bir saat kadar kaldı içeride. Tabii görüşme sonrası çok mutlu bir şekilde ayrılınca konsolosluktan ben de çok rahatladım. O da çok rahatladı. Ve bana onu iyi karşıladıklarını söylediler.
An hour and a half later, Jamal departed. He was informed that the necessary documents would be processed at a later date. On that same evening, on Friday, September 28th, Jamal returned to London after spending less than one day in Istanbul. On the 29th of September, Jamal gave a talk at a day-long symposium organized by the Middle East Monitor about the future of peace 25 years after the Oslo Agreement. This was the activity he dedicated 2 tweets to before his final tweet.
Young Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi Crown Prince, reached a deal with Kushner, and they even went as far as agreeing.
I was one of the last people to meet him before he disappeared. He was here with me in this office. We spent the day together, we had lunch together, and then he went to the airport. I followed him the following day to Istanbul because he was supposed to appear on my TV show. But by the time I arrived in Istanbul, he was gone. And I can tell you that when we met here, Jamal seemed quite comfortable and excited about the prospects of marriage. We discussed a project he had in mind, and that is to set up a website to publish translations of reports and articles and analyses on the economic situation in Saudi Arabia and the region.
While in London, Jamal called the Saudi Consulate, and they informed him that the documentation was ready and that he needed to collect it on Tuesday, October 2nd at 1:30 p.m. Jamal left London to return to Istanbul on what was to be his last and final journey. It was the first time that Jamal did not stay in one of Istanbul's hotels. Hatice was organizing the house that Jamal had bought for their wedding. Hatice moved in most of the furniture and house supplies. Only a few simple things remained, which Jamal had planned to buy after his return from the consulate, which never took place. At the Dilek restaurant inside the residential complex, Hatice and Jamal were having breakfast. There was so much to talk about, but the conversation was mostly about the upcoming wedding.
Nasıl olmalı? İşte nasıl bir şey yapmayı düşünüyoruz? Düğünü nasıl organize edelim? Nerede? Nasıl bir içerikli? Hangi arkadaşlarımızı çağıralım? Bu sohbetleri yaptık. Ondan sonra ben de şöyle düşündüm. Dedim ki kimle gideceksin? Tek gideceğim dedi ya da bir arkadaşımla gideceğim. Ben dedim ki tamam o zaman ben de seninle beraber geleyim. Okula gitmeyeyim, seninle beraber geleyim. Sonra konsolosluğu aradı ve geleceğini bildirdi onlara. Arkasından kendisine biz seni arayacağız dediler. Yarım saat sonra falan konsolosluktan bir görevli aradı ve saat 1'e randevu verdi. Sonra taksiye binerek konsolosluğa gittik.
They hired a taxi and went to Saudi Consulate, almost 15 kilometers from Jamal's house. A few hours earlier, in the dark of night, the planes carrying Jamal's assassination team landed in Istanbul. 3 people from Prince Mohammed bin Salman's Special Protection Unit came on a commercial flight from Cairo. 2 private jets coming from Riyadh landed an hour apart on the private runway. On board the first plane landing at 3:30 a.m., numbered HZSK-1, was Maher al-Mutrib, the head of the assassination team, and 8 other team members, including 2 key players in the crime. The team went to 2 hotels close to the Saudi consulate, the Wyndham Grand and the Movenpick. Surveillance cameras in both hotels showed group members leaving at 9:40 a.m. and 10:50 a.m., and surveillance cameras at the consulate monitored their successive arrivals.
Turkish authorities, let's say, leaked all the recordings that 2 planes came from Saudi Arabia to the international airport of Atatürk, and 15 men checked in a hotel in Istanbul, and before Khashoggi arrived to the consulate, they entered to the consulate with a car with a tilted window that you cannot see inside.
The fact that that team arrived in Turkey, the circumstances of what they actually did, the timings concerned, and also the composition of those people in terms of their forensic expertise, their ranking, one at least is alleged to be a very senior ranking intelligence officer, and the fact that it's also claimed that at least 7 of that team are extremely close in terms of the security inner circle of the Crown Prince himself. All of this is very strong circumstantial evidence. It all suggests that not only were these people implicated in the whatever has happened, it also suggests that what the intention actually was.
At 1:14 p.m., surveillance cameras showed Jamal entering the consulate after saying goodbye to his fiancée and handing her his phone amidst feelings of joy and anxiety.
Jamal Khashoggi has been missing for 5 days.
Jamal Khashoggi's fiancée reported his disappearance to Turkish police after he didn't return.
The Washington Post says it's very concerned about the whereabouts of one of its prominent commentators.
The well-known Saudi journalist was last seen entering his country's consulate in Istanbul on Tuesday and hasn't emerged since.
At 4 p.m., Jamal was not out yet. Hatice contacted Yasin Aktay and Torun Khashoggi and told them what had happened.
Saat 3'ten sonra, 3.30'dan sonra artık böyle bir neden bitmedi bu iş, neden çıkmadı Cemal, çıkmıyor. Böyle bir takım sorular sormaya başladım. Sonra kalkıp yerimden, beklediğim yerden birazcık gezindim, etrafa baktım. Çıkan arabalara baktım, konsoloslukta neler oluyor. Anlamaya çalıştım yani ne oluyor, acaba mekan kapandı mı falan. Ama gene aklımda kötü bir şey yok, asla. Kesinlikle aklıma kötü bir şey gelmiyor yani, olabileceğine dair. Ondan sonra baktım bir şeyler yolunda gitmiyor, hissettim öyle bir şey olduğunu düşünmeye başladım. Sonra yöneldim, kapıya yöneldim ve dedim ki ben Cemal'i bekliyorum burada. Cemal çıkmadı hala. Kapıdaki görevli bana yani içeride kimsenin olmadığını, herkesin dışarı çıktığını söyledi bana. Ve ilk ben şimdi ne yapacağım sorusunu sonra hızlı bir şekilde Suudi Arabistan konsolosluk telefonunu buldum ve onu aradım hemen. Ve telefonu çıkan kişiye kapıda beklediğimi söyledim. Cemal'in içeri girdiğini ve çıkmadığını, kendisinin nişanlısı olduğumu söyledim. Sonra kapıda beklemeye devam ettiğimi, bunun üzerine kapıya geldi görevli, telefonu kapatıp. Sonra içeride kimse yokmuş. Bana içeride kimse yok, senin burada beklemenin bir anlamı yok dedi. Elim ayağım titremeye başladı ve aklıma Yasin Bey geldi tabii ki ilk olarak.
Bana işte ben Cemal Khashoggi'nin nişanlısıyım dedim. Evet, ne oldu? Cemal Khashoggi konsolosluğa girdi, 5 saattir çıkmıyor dedi. Der demez anladım ciddi bir problem var orada. Çünkü ben hani Cemal Khashoggi konsolosluğa girmesinin onun için çok ciddi bir problem oluşturabileceği algısına sahip değildim. Onun üzerine bekle dedim, ben hemen iki yeri arayayım da sana dönerim dedim. Aradım, kapattım telefonu, hemen aramam gereken herkesi aradım tabii. Önce Milli İstihbarat Teşkilatımızın Sayın Başkanı Hakan Fidan'ı aradım. Onun akabinde Cumhurbaşkanı ofisini aradım. Başka arkadaşları da aradım, haberdar ettim durumdan. Ve kısa bir süre içerisinde Emniyet Teşkilatımız, İstihbarat Teşkilatımız gerekli bütün önlemleri hemen almak suretiyle Sayın Khashoggi'nin en azından kaybolduğu saatlerde sadece 3,5 saat sonra onun hakkında hemen herkes haberdar olmuş oldu.
O aramalarını yapmıştır diye düşünüyorum. Arkasından Turan Bey'i aradım, Turan Kıştakçı'yı. Yani bu şekilde medyaya ve gerekli yargı ve emniyet makamlarına haber ulaşmış olduk.
الذي كنت أفكره حينما أخبرنا خديجة قلت لعل مسكوه في القنصلية الآن يسألون أسئلة ويحاسبونه ماذا تفعل لماذا كذا وكذا.
There were many speculations about the man's fate. At the time, the darkest speculation was that he had been kidnapped as part of an illegal operation to return him to the kingdom. The British newspaper The Guardian was concerned that Khashoggi had been detained and smuggled out of the Saudi Consulate in Istanbul in a diplomatic car before being transferred to Saudi Arabia.
According to the information we have, the Saudi citizen is still in the Saudi Arabian consulate in Istanbul. We don't have any information besides that.
The official line of the Turkish government was silence. During the first few days, on October 3rd, an official statement was issued by the presidential spokesperson Ibrahim Kalin, and a reference to President Erdogan was made on October 7th.
Şu anda İstanbul'da savcılık bu işin takibinde.
The investigation was entrusted to the Turkish intelligence service, which apparently had many details about what had occurred inside the consulate, including audio and possibly video documentation. Despite this, the Turkish government intentionally chose a lengthy strategy to avoid accusing Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman directly, a strategy that would distance King Salman from the crime. It appeared that a set of targets had been carefully set up by the Turkish intelligence services. The introduction of leaks grew in intensity and ferocity whenever a weak Saudi story or an empty U.S. statement emerged. Such leaks continued to be used as a key tool to manage the situation.
Aslında Türkiye'nin genel olarak bu tür verileri, ulaşılmış olan tartışılmaz verileri bir şekilde kamuoyuyla paylaşmasının bir sebebi bu konuyu siyasallaştırmaktan uzak durmak.
Of course, we're reliant upon what they are leaking or claiming, certain elements within the Turkish security establishment and officials. And no doubt they have their own reasons for that, that may depend on geopolitical reasons in terms of, undoubtedly, it would appear to people such as myself anyway, some kind of ongoing behind-the-scenes negotiation with the Saudis and perhaps with the Americans as well. And secondly, of course, in terms of perhaps not wanting to damage the integrity of some future prosecution.
The Saudi kingdom adopted a policy of denial, thus distancing itself from the crime. According to our monitoring team, the official Saudi press agency published more than 148 statements about the disappearance of Khashoggi between October 2nd, the day Khashoggi went missing, and November 2nd. The agency's official statements included 89 news items and 19 statements by royal princes and government ministers. According to the monitoring team, King Salman bin Abdelaziz conducted 11 calls and meetings, while the Crown Prince conducted only 3 meetings. The official agency publicized 2 declarations made by the Saudi Consulate in Istanbul and 2 statements by the Saudi Attorney General Saud al-Mojib. Minister of Interior Abdelaziz bin Saud made a single declaration, while Foreign Minister Abdel al-Jubeir made 2 declarations about Khashoggi's case in 1 month. The agency publicized 4 letters and condolences to the Khashoggi family and 1 statement by the Supreme Scholars Council. There were 4 royal orders issued by the Saudi monarch, some of which involved discharging leaders in the royal court. The Turkish Foreign Ministry summoned the Saudi ambassador, demanding a clarification of the incident. This resulted in the first official Saudi statement issued by Saudi Consulate General in Istanbul, released on October 3rd. It said, "The consulate is following the reports in the media about the disappearance of the Saudi citizen Jamal Khashoggi after he left the building of the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. The consulate also confirmed that it is carrying out follow-up procedures and coordinating with the local Turkish authorities to uncover the circumstances behind the disappearance of Khashoggi after he exited the consulate building." A statement by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman followed. Bloomberg News Agency publicized the statement on Friday, October 3rd, before the official Saudi press agency publicized it on the 6th of October. He declared, "What I know is that he went in and left a few minutes, maybe an hour later." The Crown Prince added, "Yes, he is not inside the consulate. If he were in Saudi Arabia, I would know it."
Biz orada ilk 3 gün konsolosluğa gitmeye devam ettik. Sabahtan akşama kadar orada beklemeye devam ettik. Cemal'in içeride olduğunu düşünerek. Arkasından Suudi Arabistan'dan Cemal'in konsolosluğa girdikten kısa bir süre sonra çıktığına dair bir açıklama geldi. Yani ilk günlerde, ilk hafta içerisinde. Ve ben bu açıklamadan sonra konsolosluğa gitmeyi bıraktım. Cemal'in konsoloslukta olmadığını düşünmeye başladım. Başka bir yere götürüldüğünü, yani Suudi Arabistan'a götürüldüğünü ya da bir başka yere götürüldüğünü.
At the very first beginning of the event has been happened, Mr. Erdogan openly said that unless Kingdom of Saudi Arabian authorities clearly show that he has left the consulate, all the responsibilities belong to the Saudi Arabian authorities. And then you know that Saudi Arabian officials and their social media army started to propaganda about that Mr. Khashoggi has left the consulate, and this is a very detailed plan and action of Turkish intelligence agency. They are trying to blame Saudi Arabia and the other such kind of ridiculous story, fabricated stories.
The fifth day brought with it the first news story about Jamal's murder. A Turkish official told Reuters that the Turkish police's initial assessment was that Khashoggi had been intentionally murdered at the consulate and that his body had been transferred abroad. The Saudi government denied the news and rejected it. An official source at the Consulate General of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in Istanbul denied the statements published by Reuters, quoting Turkish officials suggesting that the Saudi citizen Jamal Khashoggi was killed at the Saudi Consulate in Istanbul, and strongly denounced the source of these unfounded accusations. On October 6th, the Saudi consul in Istanbul, Mohammed Al-Otaibi, invited reporters from Reuters to the consulate headquarters and accompanied them on a tour to confirm that Khashoggi was not inside the building. The consul denied news of Khashoggi's assassination and insisted that Jamal had left the building, but that they could not prove it because the consulate's surveillance cameras did not save images.
Then we understood that something is going wrong, because if someone is missing in your consulate, you have to prove that he went out of consulate with the video recordings.
But why you would have a CCTV system that isn't working, or rather doesn't record, seems impossible to believe. The only reason why you would not have a recording system is lack of money, and this isn't something that afflicts Saudi Arabia, for sure.
On Monday, October 8th, Donald Trump issued his first statement about the crisis. Trump's statement coincided with a strong renunciation by the Saudi Arabian ambassador to the United States, Prince Khalid bin Salman bin Abdelaziz, who claimed that the allegations that Khashoggi had been killed or detained by the Saudi authorities were completely false and unfounded. This came before his departure to Saudi Arabia, where he was returning under the pretext of getting further clarification.
Just spoke with the King of Saudi Arabia. The King firmly denied any knowledge of it. He didn't really know. Maybe, I don't want to get into his mind, but it sounded to me like maybe these could have been rogue killers. Who knows?
From the first day, Trump administration wanted to give an exit to Mohammed bin Salman. Of course, we know the strong ties between Trump and Mohammed bin Salman. And we know that Trump started speaking about the rogue elements before even the Saudi government came up with this terminology. So he wanted to give them the exit, therefore they can use it in order to cover up the crime. And this, unfortunately, was the role of Trump administration.
2 Ekim'i takip eden günlerde, ilk haftalarda Amerika Başkanı Trump'tan bir davet aldım. Amerika'ya davet etti kendisi. Yani olumlu bir davet görmedim. Onu kendisini sadece kamuoyunun sempatisini kazanmak için yapılmış siyasi bir adım olarak gördüm. Çünkü Amerika olarak meselenin aydınlatılması için ciddi bir adım atması gerekiyor bir başkan olarak, devlet başkanı olarak.
On October 8th, the Turkish newspaper Yeni Şafak revealed that the intelligence services were analyzing the movement of 26 cars owned by the Saudi consulate in Istanbul in order to determine their locations on the day media journalist Jamal Khashoggi went missing. Surveillance cameras close to the Saudi consulate showed 2 cars, one a Mercedes Vito, license number 34CC1865, and another with license number 34CC2248, headed to the Saudi consul's house an hour and 50 minutes after Khashoggi entered the consulate. For 3 days, the cars were stationed in the house's garage. And on the 4th day, they were taken to the car wash near the consulate. The driver had been asked to clean them carefully. We captured the following scenes from inside the car wash, showing the employees cleaning the 2 cars. We captured this image as a Vito car stood outside the home of the Saudi consul before the Turkish police searched the house. Turkish investigators believe that Jamal's dismembered body was transported in this car. Details about the case were revealed on the 9th and the 10th of October. the US-based Washington Post published its first image of the surveillance footage showing Jamal entering the consulate at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, October 2nd. On the 10th of October, the Turkish media broadcast images, footage, and the names of the persons described as the Assassination Squad. The New York Times published details about the operation and reported that Khashoggi was cut with a bone saw 2 hours after his death, and that the orders to assassinate him had been issued from the highest positions in Saudi Arabia.
ورغم أنهم يقولون لا جو للسياحة، الذي يأتي للسياحة لا يذهب إلى القنصلية، يذهب هناك ساعات وثم يذهب إلى مطار مرة رسمي. وهؤلاء ذهبوا إلى الفندق ثم ذهبوا إلى سوق الحميدية هنا في اسطنبول، اشتروا 16-20 حقيبة من مختلف أنواع حقائب كبيرة، ثم ذهبوا إلى القنصلية، من القنصلية يقول بيت القنصل، ثم إلى الفندق، خرجوا وذهبوا. رغم هذا كان بقاؤهم في الفندق يكتب 4 أيام، ولكن بقوا 10 ساعات. لما؟
When we saw those 15 guys' pictures and identifications, we realized that those guys are very close members of the Mohammed bin Salman's team as a bodyguard and the other issues.
11 days after Khashoggi's disappearance, during CBS's 60 Minutes program, Trump said that the Crown Prince firmly denied any knowledge of what had happened, but warned Saudi Arabia of severe punishment if it was proven that Khashoggi was killed.
There's something, you'll be surprised to hear me say that, there's something really terrible and disgusting about that if that were the case. So we're going to have to see. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and there will be severe punishment.
If they go on to claim that these people were acting without the authority of the Saudi government, then of course they can prove that by relinquishing the diplomatic immunity of these people and extraditing them to Turkey for trial. But if that happens, of course, there is a very big risk that those people who are put on trial for this capital offence will name the people that made the decisions, and that may not be convenient, of course, to the Saudi government.
On the same day, ministers for foreign affairs of Britain, France, and Germany issued a joint statement asking for a credible investigation.
Of course, the governments in Britain and America would like to draw a line under this and pretend it hadn't happened. But I think public pressure is then forcing the media to then force the governments in the West to actually, at least in the short term, appear to be taking action. And that, of course, is an error of judgment from the Saudi perspective.
Of course, later on, they had to increase the tone because of the pressure inside the country, because of the media, because of the Republicans and the Democrats in the Congress. But they maintained the same strategy. Try to find an exit, even if you increase the rhetoric.
So Mr. Trump felt himself very pressed, and immediately he sent his Secretary of State, Mr. Pompeo, both to Riyadh and to Ankara. For Riyadh, he wanted to learn the realities, they say so, but I am not very sure that whether he went there in order to investigate what has happened inside the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia or to fabricate a story.
These statements echoed throughout the Saudi stock market, with the Saudi stock index falling by 7% as trading sessions started on October 14th. An apprehensive Saudi statement was also released, vowing to retaliate with even greater measures against any action taken against the kingdom. Another display of Saudi's anxiety and tension was observed when a member of the Saudi diplomatic mission tore up a picture of Jamal with a phrase demanding to reveal his fate, throwing the picture onto the floor. A few days later, this same person guided Turkish forensic investigators during an investigation of the Saudi consul's home. On October 14th, King Salman's name was mentioned for the first time. The Saudi press agency said King Salman bin Abdulaziz contacted Turkish President Erdogan and thanked the president for welcoming the kingdom's proposal to form a joint working group to discuss the disappearance of the Saudi citizen Jamal Khashoggi. The custodian of the two holy mosques stressed the kingdom's keenness on its relations with its sister Turkey. On October 15th, King Salman received a phone call from U.S. President Donald Trump. The Saudi press agency reported that Trump praised the progress of the joint Saudi-Turkish cooperation in the investigation of Khashoggi's case. On that very same day, Saudi and Turkish officials entered the consulate. They came with a joint team headed by the Deputy General Prosecutor of Istanbul and a number of experts from the Counterterrorism Directorate. In the evening, the forensic investigation team arrived at the consulate in their equipped vehicles. The work lasted up to 9 hours until dawn of October 16th. The teams left carrying samples of soil and a metal door from the garden. Media cameras surrounded the consul's home, which was on the verge of inspection following the consulate. On the 16th of October, the consul decided to return to his country amidst talk of a possible arrest.
After all those forensic investigation, Mr. Erdogan made a couple of telephone calls with international leaders, including the King Salman of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And after that, the Saudi Arabia had realized that the fabricated story of Khashoggi has left the consulate is incredible. So they accepted that Mr. Khashoggi has been killed inside the consulate.
We were able to monitor the frequent entry of Saudi security forces entering the consulate building and the consul's house between the 12th and the 17th of October. We later discovered that this team included chemical expert Ahmed Abdelaziz Al-Janoubi and toxicologist Khalid Yahya Al-Zaharani. This was the group that the Turkish media reported had deliberately obscured in its evidence at the consulate and the consul's house.
It is possible to fully clean a premises of forensic evidence, but what you then leave is evidence that you have fully cleaned. And therefore that also again can be used and often is used as circumstantial evidence against the accused person.
On October 20th, after repeatedly trying to deny the fact, Saudi Arabia for the first time admitted that Khashoggi was dead. It announced the arrest of 18 Saudis for questioning in a statement made by the Saudi public prosecutor, in which he proposed the first narrative that the murder was the result of a quarrel.
Suudi Arabistan'ın resmi olarak ölüm itirafını yaptığı güne kadar Cemal'in %100 öldüğüne ya da öldürüldüğüne inanmıyordum. Çünkü Cemal öldürülecek bir şey yapmadı. Yani Cemal suçlu değildi, aranan biri değildi. Yani hakkında bir itham yoktu, açılmış bir dava yoktu. Arananlar listesinde değildi. Cemal'in hiçbir suçu, günahı yoktu.
On October 21st, King Salman and the Crown Prince made 2 phone calls to Salah Jamal Khashoggi to pay their condolences. And on October 23rd, they summoned him and his uncle Salah Khashoggi and took a picture with them during the funeral. As a result of Turkish government pressure tactics, the Saudi Attorney General Saud al-Mojab announced his trip to Turkey to coordinate the operation of the investigators. On Monday morning, October 29th, al-Mujab arrived in Istanbul on a private plane. He held 2 meetings in the Judicial Palace with Istanbul's Attorney General Irfan Fidan. Following the meetings, a declaration was issued by the Turkish Public Prosecutor's Office. It stated that it did not reach any tangible results from meetings with the Saudi Attorney General, despite all our efforts and good intentions to reveal the truth about the killing of Khashoggi in his country's consulate. It also stated that right after entering the consulate building, Khashoggi had been strangled to death as part of a premeditated plan, and that after his death, Khashoggi's body was cut and disposed of. Since these announcements, the position of each party has taken shape. The Turkish authorities have confirmed their story. The Saudis have issued statements in response to facts leaked by the Turkish government, and the U.S. administration adopted the position of defending Mohammed bin Salman under the pretext of U.S. interests. House and Senate deputies have taken bold positions denouncing Trump's position and demanding that the kingdom and the crown prince be held accountable. And then there is the poignant absence of Arab positions.
The CIA has concluded through its investigation that the Saudi crown prince ordered the murder of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
Trump administration touched off a new storm of criticism over the killing of Saudi writer Jamal Khashoggi.
The U.S. has sanctioned some Saudis in response, but the crown prince has yet to face any punishment.
Time passed, but the case hasn't subsided. According to the audio records that were leaked by the Turkish intelligence and were confirmed by the recent investigation by the United Nations, Khashoggi entered the consulate at 1:15 p.m. and then went to the office of the General Counsel, Mohammed al-Otaibi, who was accompanied by Maher al-Motrib, an officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and one of the special guards to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. They asked Khashoggi a question about his intention to return to Saudi Arabia. Jamal answered, "I want to return to the future." So they said, "We will have to take you back. There is an order from the Interpol. The Interpol requested you to be sent back. We are coming to get you." Jamal said, "There isn't a case against me. I notified some people outside. They were waiting for me." According to the records, there was a short fight followed by a conversation between the team of the mission. "Did he sleep?" "He raises his head." "Keep pushing. Push here. Don't remove your hand. Push it." According to the UN investigation, Khashoggi was injected with a sedative and strangled with a plastic bag. Then Salah al-Tabaigi, a forensic doctor and a member of the killing team, started cutting Jamal's body. After about 2 hours, a voice recorder documented 3 different voices speaking on the staircase. One of them ordered the closure of the visa lounge. The other appeared to be an information expert transferring data from surveillance cameras and resetting them completely. As for the third, it was Mustafa al-Madani, a lookalike.
Jamal Khashoggi was a premeditated murder, and they're now telling CNN that they even believe the Saudis went to the extent of sending a body double here.
Who appeared to be expressing resentment about wearing Jamal's clothes as he shouted, "It's scary to wear the clothes of a person who was killed 20 minutes ago." Jamal's shoes did not fit him well, so he got the team's approval to keep his sneakers on after they decided it would be unnoticeable. Al-Madani received instructions to walk along 4 streets before hiring a car to the Sultan Ahmed area, where he would dispose of Jamal's clothes, which is what indeed happened. On 19 June 2019, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Arbitrary Executions, Agnes Kalamar, issued her own investigation into the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. The investigation included a direct indictment of the Saudi authorities for involvement in Khashoggi's extrajudicial execution. Kalamar said that there is credible evidence that calls for further investigation into the involvement of high-level Saudi officials, including Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman himself, in the crime.
I didn't know Mr. Khashoggi. I believe that he will take great hope in the fact that his execution will never be repeated, including by the state of Saudi Arabia, to which he was so attached.
Although much time has passed since Jamal's murder, a major question remains unanswered. Where is the body? Did al-Mutrib carry it in his diplomatically immune luggage when he traveled on board one of the private jets that carried the assassination team to Cairo and Dubai the following evening? Was the body buried in the palaces of Yalova, which have been inspected by teams of Turkish police several times? Was his body scattered along the outskirts of the Belgrade forest, where al-Mazini was seen hours before the assassination? Or was the body dissolved in acid and disposed of in the consul's house?
Month since he was killed, Jamal Khashoggi's body has yet to be found.
Saudi Arabia has denied any involvement in the disappearance of Khashoggi.
Turkish newspaper is now reporting that Khashoggi's Apple Watch recorded evidence of his murder. Now the world waits to see how the United States will respond.
Killing, dismembering his body, there needs to be some consequence.
Jamal Khashoggi's death was no accident.
International media has played major role in exposing the crime and in demanding to know the truth and the one who ordered it. And in my opinion, this would be one of the landmarks in the history of media and the struggle for integrity in journalism.
أنا فقط أريد أن أكون كاتب مستقل، أن لا أكون في بيتي ممنوعاً من الكتابة بجدة، ممنوعاً من الظهور في الإعلام، ممنوعاً من إصدار كتب، لأني شعرت بأنني لا يمكن أن أتمتع بحريتي وأسكت مرة أخرى.